Episode 3, and we're already getting our first full-scale battle. All right, Shogun. I see you. I see you. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Work won't let me be great. I was on an out-of-town trip when this aired, working Wednesday, so I couldn't get back to actually watching this Thursday. Thus, I am recording now on a Friday. I don't want these to be late either. um, but I've watched the third episode of Shogun called Tomorrow is Tomorrow, and things are moving along rather swimmingly. Lord Toranaga is continuing to sort of extend the ticking clock he has on his and his followers' life, and he's doing so in some very clever and creative ways. Yabashuge is an opportunist. That's the best way to say it. He's an opportunist, and he's going to go with whatever works best in his favor. And so, at the beginning of this episode, he's settling his will. He's deciding with the last things of his will. And when everybody is settling their will, that means they are prepared to go do some BS. They're about to go do the fullest extent of bull that they can possibly do because they think on the other side of this they may die. So they're getting their affairs in order. And he goes to see Lord Toranaga at his request, and Lord Toranaga's over here just calmly watching the sun, looking at how the sun sets. It's like, yo, basically calls him out. It's like, look, I know Lord Ishido was in your house the other day. You were whispering sweet nothings into his ear. So I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if you're on the up and up. I don't know where your allegiance lies. And he basically like, would I be here if I wasn't? Sort of, he gives an answer, but a non-answer, an answer enough that Lord Toranaga knows that, like, yeah, I can't trust you. But I'm going to give you a task. Your task is to take Blackthorn, the bastard, the person that's the white dude in our village, and Lady Kiri, and you can take them to Jiro, the fishing village, to get them out of Osaka before Ishido comes and attacks. Because we know he's coming, and I need you to do that for me. And in this is sort of Lord Toranaga's way of testing his allegiance. One, hey, let's see if you actually perform this and do what you're supposed to do, what I'm asking you to do. And two, let's check to see if this information gets anywhere else. If I set this up one way and then I find out that you've given up a hint to Ishido or any of his people, then I know that you're not exactly on the up and up, and I'm going to have to come find you and get my lashes out on you. It's a way of keeping his friends close and his enemies closer. Like he's setting a trap and sort of ensnaring. He's trying to see anybody that will align themselves with him and anybody who will turn on him. He wants to sort of get a clearer picture because right now he has no idea who's on his side and who's not. Yabashuge is basically playing anybody who will listen, who will give him what he needs to get power, he's going to follow along with them. So the brigade or procession that's ready to take Kira and Blackthorn out is all set, ready to go, and Lord Ishido shows up when that is happening. Some of it is because they're delaying and getting caught up in some pomp and circumstances. Lady Kira's taking her sweet time to get into to her cart, but then Ishido comes and he's sort of checking each cart because these folks are by what the council have said. No one is supposed to be moving Kira or anything around. This should be done in secret, and if Ishido finds them and something happens, they know that they're moving that person across. Then they can go ahead and basically shut it all down and kill everybody immediately. Basically, you're breaking the rules of what we've engaged in, what we said. So Ishido's checking things, and he sees Lady Kira in one of the carts, and then a distraction is made. And the distraction is made so that Lady Kira can escape, and we don't see sort of what replaces him, but we just see that Lady Kira is gone. Blackthorn catches wind of this and kind of as Blackthorn is like, "Did you know?" And Marika's like, "No." Lord Toranaga sort of keeps things like this to the best. He has been put in situations before where he just doesn't know who to trust and whom to align himself with. There's a saying that he had placed in his head when he was around 6, that enemies are everyone and friends are nowhere. And so they get to another sort of like traffic stop, if you will, to sort of check these carts again to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Once Ishido leaves, he still has people sort of tracking and keeping an eye on them. And Blackthorn has to go out of his way to do a little buffoonery to give themselves a little bit of space and time. He gets slapped up, he gets clowned, made it fun enough so that they don't check into the box that Lady Kira is supposed to be traveling in. Gets away with it. They're told to keep on. It's like Ishido said to keep going. Lord Toranaga, this is what we're supposed to do, so we're allowed to keep going and safe passage. They continue on a little further down the road till nighttime falls, and all of a sudden archers start shooting arrows out of the sky with flames on them, and they're under attack. These archers have the high ground on the brigade, so they're picking off people pretty regularly. And all of a sudden, Lord Toranaga shows himself that he's been a part of the procession the whole time. So he's been playing sort of a one-up on everybody. Even Yabashuge is like, wait, what? He's here? What the hell? And so he had been sort of going back and forth with some of the people that were with Ishido, trying to play his game. But he eventually sort of sides with Toranaga and starts helping him more than the Ishido's crew. Ishido's crew, when the people that sort of are watching see that, okay, Yabashuge seems to be helping out with Toranaga more than he's helping us out. Yabashuge does sort of question, like, hey, I didn't even know you're here. Can you kind of, if I'm in your right hand, can you give me a little bit more heads up on your plans? And Lord Toranaga, sure, yeah, I'll do that. He ain't gonna do that. That ain't happening. As the fight continues, Lord Toranaga and his crew and Team Mariko, Blackthorn, and the rest of his crew try to start making their ways to the boats at the shore. But they're given a little bit of coverage by Mariko's husband, Buntaro, to sort of make their way and get safely to the boat so they can pull up anchor and take off. And as they see a moment where Buntaro is making his way down the ramp towards the boats, and he battles valiantly about 8 people off, gets rid of them, takes them off, they're gone. But then he sees that there's like a ton of other fighters waiting for them, and he looks to the boats and sort of acknowledges that he's not going to be able to make it out of this. And so he bows to Toranaga. Toranaga bows to him and says his full name. Instead of Buntaro, he says his actual given name out of respect. And then he goes and buys them some more time fighting valiantly as the boats take off. We don't actually see him die. He's still battling and whatnot. We see him shadow off into one of the homes of the village. So if he's dead, we are presuming that he is dead, but we don't actually see it. But we do get to see a visual of Mariko's eyes in it. And Anna does a great job of conveying sadness, but also kind of like, I don't know what this means for me. Because even though we haven't quite seen it in the way that Buntaro responds to his kid coming up to the mom right before they were leaving for the procession, the way he sort of responds to her, and just the way that the world is towards women at this point, there gives off the idea that there has been some abuse in that family. And so it wasn't so much sadness in her eyes. For her, it was more of like, my son is going to feel this by not having his dad around, like the manly person. But now I've got sort of without asking for it, like I didn't put this into the earth, like this just happened upon me. I sort of have a second chance and get to sort of choose what I do next, when I probably feels like most of the stuff so far has been chosen for her. The rich man of the council, Kiyama, his men are at the harbor and they're blocking the way. Nobody can get through. They're blocking the way. Because remember, for the Council of Regents, everybody's on the side of Ishido except for Toranaga. There's 5 of them. Toranaga's out, and the remaining 4 are all deciding that we got to get Toranaga out of there. So Kiyama is a part of this, and Kiyama's men are blocking the harbor. You can't get through. And so Toranaga has to go and sort of do a deal with the religious folks that we saw in the previous 2 episodes, Captain General, to sort of get a boat to allow passage, to allow them to get through. And what he asked for is to say, hey, can you get the people that are helping or aiding Ishido and his men? Can you get them to turn on our side? And my man's like, nah, it ain't gonna be that easy. I can't just get them to switch out on you. And Toranaga offers to, hey, you guys can build up a church in Osaka. Like, I'll let you hands free. You guys will build up a church. And they're like, okay, cool. But here's this. And they hand over a book that is representative of everything that was on Blackthorn. It was in Blackthorn's ship. This is everything that he read. This is Blackthorn's words. You should be aware of this. And you need to turn him over. Like, the only way that we're going to do all of this for you, we'll give you this book and you have to turn him over. And he's like, okay, cool. Mariko translate that back to Blackthorn. It's like, Blackthorn, we're going to continue on the boats, but they're going to keep you. And he's like, no, F that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. And so he decides to use the black ship that Lord Toranaga and Captain General are on as sort of a bridge or a cover. So they're sort of working in tandem. Like he is speeding up to get having his men on this boat speed up fast enough so that he can be on par with the boat that Toranaga and his crew and Captain General are on, so that he can use it as a shield and then um, ever so finally wiggle his way through the narrows to get by these rocks and whatnot, so that he can continue on his passageway. And he does so. And at that point, Captain General is like, "Well, the hell, that's not what we were supposed to do." And so he goes off on his own, and Toranaga winds up meeting back up with Blackthorn, because he doesn't. Now that they have passed, they don't need the help of Captain General. So they get off the black ship and they go back to the galley, and those folks on the galley boat continue on. As I mentioned, in the dealings that Toranaga had with the Portuguese, they gave him a book, and in that book, it sort of is the writings that Blackthorn has had on his survival on his trip. Toranaga, being the ever so clever one, is like, okay, here's the deal. This book has piracy, is explanations and declarations of piracy all throughout it. Piracy is grounds for immediate death. And Blackthorn's like, oh, crap. However, Toranaga continues, it's going to take a while to translate this. So, oh well. And then he promotes him to being a Hanamoto, and which is basically a person. He wants him to sort of train others on the ship in the ways of fighting within the ship, like being able to shoot guns and shoot whatever the ship can do. He wants him to be the one to sort of give him the heads up and train his people to do so. And so they are now sort of more on a working relationship. And so again, Toranaga has seen enough in this to say I can trust him a little bit more. I still don't trust him completely. I know that he is a pirate. He would do things. He would turn on me in the heartbeat. But I do know that when this situation was happening, he did his buffoonery to keep Lady Kira and this thing going. He did so. Now, he did so more on his own hide because Mariko told him that, hey, if this doesn't work, they're going to kill everybody. So he's doing it more for his own hide. But as long as he keeps that principle of, if this guy feels that death is around the corner, I can sort of use him in the way that I want, and Blackthorn's going to just acquiesce. There is sort of a bonding and a put in your place session that Toranaga has with Hadamato at the very end. He asks Blackthorn, Hadamato, can you show me how to dive? And it's like, I'm going to watch you do it. And he does it. He does it. He's like, cool, I'm going to keep doing it. He's like, I can stop. We can learn. And Mariko's like, we can do this tomorrow. He's like, no, but tomorrow is tomorrow. I will learn how to dive today. Uh, so he keeps doing it. So he basically has him do it 7 or 8 times. I think it was 7. And then he's like, okay, cool. I think I got it. And he dives in pretty effortlessly. And then he's like, but in this, he's like, I want to race you to swim to shore. At this point, Blackthorn's completely tired. He's exhausted. He's dove in that boat 7 times, back and forth. So he is exhausted. So Toranaga has sort of set the board up that I'm going to put you in your place. You're going to show me what you know how to get this done, but then I'm going to win because you're exhausted. So it's a way to sort of have fun and play, but also sort of show you that I am the one in charge. Mariko gives off a pretty sly smile in this moment, because it seems like she's realizing that for the first time ever in her life, she gets to sort of make decisions and do what it is that she wants to do. And so it'll be interesting to see, there is a bit of a connection between her and Blackthorn. So it'll be interesting to see if what I feel that they have chemistry, if she decides to be with him or be one with him, or if it's strictly going to be platonic. I have a feeling they're going that way. I don't know if I've ever read the books, but it just gives off that vibe. The big piece of this, and sort of what happens at the end, it is delivered to the Council of Regents that Toranaga is resigning from the Council of Regents. Lord Ishido is like, cool, I don't care. We were going to kill him anyway, and he was going to be impeached, so cool. And they are kindly reminded that the Council of Regents was set up by Lord Tycho to have 5 votes. And if Toranaga's out, that means you only have 4 people on your thing, and you can only have 4 votes. So kind of SOL until you find a replacement. So that means Toranaga has sort of expanded and extended his lifeline to have a little bit more time to figure out what he's going to do next in his next chess move. Sort of put Ishido at a bit of a stalemate, and the council of regions at a bit of a stalemate. So that time clock is extended. So it's a smart thinking. You can't do it if you only have 4 people on your team. You can't vote, so you got to wait until you then promote somebody up to do that. So it gives them a little bit more of a window to operate and figure out what to do next. Really great episode. First time that we got to see some actual combat between multiple people. It's pretty well done. It was in dark, but not darkness like that Game of Thrones episode of darkness. Good darkness where you could actually still make things out. Um, I like to see some of the relationship that was building. They're getting closer, Blackthorn and Mariko. We find out that he is a father, but he's never got to meet his daughter. He went on his grand marrying of piracy second she was born, so he never got to see her. But there's a cool little back and forth where they play with each other. Whereas I do think that now that her husband is gone, she sort of has the chains removed from her so that she can be a little bit more the 100% honest her. Whereas before there's a rule that like, hey, you have been betrothed to this man. This is your husband. This is you have a child. That's it. That's your life. Toranaga still being the smart one in the room. And Yabashuge still playing everybody that he possibly can to fit in and get what he wants. But it seems like Toranaga has a plan to just cast a wide net. I'm going to try everybody that I possibly can to see if they're an ally or an enemy. And depending on when everything sort of all the chips fall, I'll have a pretty good idea who's actually with me and who's not. And that's sort of he's testing the waters. I should have the following episode up in time on Wednesday at some point in time, so it shouldn't be that much of a delay. But yeah, I'm fully invested into the show. It's really well done. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Hollywood80i. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. There's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.